Kosuke Nazaki. A name whispered in hushed tones, a name synonymous with wealth and indulgence. He was a man who had it all, a sprawling business empire, a fleet of luxury cars, and a string of lovers as fleeting as the cherry blossoms. He moved through life surrounded by a coterie of yes-men and women who indulged his every whim, their smiles as brittle as the porcelain teacups he favored. Nazaki was a creature of habit. Every morning he would take his tea in his private garden, the scent of jasmine and the gentle trickle of the koi pond, his only companions. He would meticulously read the financial news, his face an impassive mask, before disappearing into a whirlwind of business meetings and lavish parties. His world was one of shimmering surfaces, a carefully constructed facade of success and power, but beneath the polished veneer a darkness lurked, a restlessness that no amount of wealth or pleasure could seem to quell. Saki Sudo was an enigma, a quiet storm in Nazaki's carefully curated world. She moved through life with a grace that belied the intensity of her inner world, a world that she rarely let anyone glimpse. Her presence was like a whisper in a crowded room, subtle yet impossible to ignore. She was a painter, her canvases bursting with vibrant colors and raw emotion, each stroke a testament to her unspoken thoughts and feelings. Her art was a window into her soul, a stark contrast to the reserved demeanor she presented to the world. The colors she used were bold and unapologetic, much like the emotions she kept hidden beneath her calm exterior. This was a stark contrast to the sterile elegance of Nazaki's penthouse apartment. His world was one of order and precision, where everything had its place and nothing was left to chance. The minimalist decor of his home reflected his need for control, a control that was both his strength and his weakness. They met at a charity gala, a chance encounter orchestrated by a bored socialite. The event was a glittering affair, filled with the city's elite, all dressed to impress. Amidst the sea of faces, Saki stood out, not because of her attire, but because of the quiet confidence she exuded. Saki, in a simple black dress and a string of pearls, stood out amongst the bejeweled crowd. Her choice of attire was understated yet elegant, a reflection of her personality. She didn't need flashy jewelry or designer gowns to make an impression. Her presence alone was enough to command attention. Her eyes, dark and intelligent, held Nazaki's gaze, a flicker of something unsettling in their depths. It was as if she could see right through him, past the facade he presented to the world, and into the depths of his soul. This unnerved him, yet he couldn't look away. He was captivated, drawn to her quiet intensity like a moth to a flame. There was something about her that intrigued him, something he couldn't quite put his finger on. It was as if she held the key to a mystery he was desperate to solve. He, accustomed to the fawning attention of women, found himself pursuing her with an almost desperate fervor. It was a new experience for him, this feeling of being the one who was chasing rather than being chased. It was both exhilarating and terrifying. Within weeks he had showered her with gifts, diamonds, first edition books, a trip to Paris. Each gift was a token of his affection, a way to show her how much he cared. But Saki remained an enigma, accepting his gifts with a polite smile but never revealing what lay beneath her calm exterior. It was a whirlwind romance fueled by his obsession and her enigmatic silence. They shared intense, dramatic moments together, each one more passionate than the last. Yet, despite the intensity of their relationship, there was always a part of Saki that remained distant, unreachable. He proposed beneath the Eiffel Tower, the city lights twinkling like a million fallen stars. It was a moment straight out of a fairy tale, a grand gesture that he hoped would finally break through the walls she had built around herself. And Saki, to the shock of everyone who knew them, said yes. Her acceptance was as enigmatic as she was, leaving everyone to wonder what had finally convinced her to let Nazaki into her heart. But for Nazaki, it was a moment of triumph, a sign that perhaps, just perhaps, he had finally found the key to unlocking the mystery that was Saki Sudo. The marriage was met with raised eyebrows and hushed whispers. The union of Saki and Kosuke Nazaki was the talk of the town, a subject of endless speculation and intrigue. People couldn't help but wonder how long it would last, given their vastly different backgrounds and lifestyles. Society gossips predicted a swift and messy divorce. They whispered about the inevitable clash of personalities, the impending storm that would tear them apart. Yet, amidst all the chatter, Saki and Kosuke seemed unfazed, as if they were living in a world of their own. But Saki, to their surprise, seemed to settle into the role of Mrs. Kosuke Nazaki with an unsettling ease. She walked into his life and his home, as if she had always belonged there. her presence both commanding and serene. It was as if she had been preparing for this role her entire life. She moved into his penthouse, her canvases replacing his prized collection of abstract art. The walls that once showcased his taste now bore the marks of her creativity. Each piece she hung was a statement, a declaration of her identity and her place in his world. The scent of oil paints and turpentine now mingled with the aroma of his expensive cologne. The air was thick with the fusion of their lives, a blend of luxury and artistry. It was a sensory reminder of the changes that were taking place, both subtle and profound. She refused to entertain his business associates, preferring quiet dinners for two in their private dining room. These dinners became their sanctuary, a place where they could escape the prying eyes of the world and simply be themselves. It was during these moments that they truly connected, their conversations deep and meaningful. Slowly, subtly, she began to change him. His once sharp and businesslike demeanor softened, his priorities shifting in ways that surprised even him. He found himself drawn to her world, a world of colors and emotions that he had never fully understood before. He started arriving late to meetings, his mind preoccupied with thoughts of her. His colleagues noticed the change, the way his focus seemed to drift, the way his eyes would glaze over as if he were lost in a dream. It was as if she had cast a spell on him, one that he had no desire to break. He found himself spending hours in her studio watching her paint, mesmerized by the way her hands moved across the canvas, bringing life to the blank spaces. He was captivated by her passion, the intensity with which she worked and the beauty she created. It was a world he had never known, and he was eager to explore it with her. He, who had always sought pleasure and distraction, was now captivated by the quiet intimacy of their life together. The simple moments they shared, the quiet conversations, the gentle touches, all of it filled him with a sense of contentment he had never experienced before. It was a new kind of happiness, one that he cherished deeply. But this newfound peace was a fragile thing, built on a foundation of secrets and unspoken truths. Beneath the surface of their idyllic life lay a tension, a sense of unease that neither of them could ignore. They both knew that the walls were closing in, that the facade they had built could crumble at any moment. And yet, they clung to each other, hoping that their love would be enough to hold it all together. The news of Kosuke Nazaki's death sent shockwaves through Tokyo's elite. The city, known for its bustling streets and vibrant nightlife, was suddenly shrouded in a cloud of mystery and sorrow. Kosuke Nazaki was not just any man. He was a prominent figure, a philanthropist, and a beloved member of the community. His sudden demise left a void that many felt deeply. He was found in their bed, his face serene, a single red rose clutched in his hand. The image was hauntingly beautiful, almost poetic, as if he had been part of a tragic love story. The red rose, a symbol of love and passion, now seemed to carry a darker, more sinister meaning. The official cause of death: heart failure. It seemed straightforward at first, a natural end to a life well lived. But as the days passed, doubts began to surface. How could a man so full of life and energy succumb so suddenly? The questions lingered, unanswered, casting a shadow over the initial conclusion. But whispers began to circulate, whispers of poison, of betrayal, of a love that had turned deadly. Friends and acquaintances exchanged glances, their conversations filled with speculation and suspicion. The once harmonious circles of Tokyo's elite were now rife with tension and mistrust. Saki, dressed in black, her face hidden behind a veil, remained stoic throughout the funeral. Her composed demeanor was both admired and questioned. Was it strength that kept her so composed, or was it something else? The rain poured down, mirroring the somber mood of the mourners. She accepted condolences with a quiet grace, her eyes betraying nothing. Each handshake, each hug was met with the same calm expression. Yet behind those eyes, what thoughts and emotions were truly brewing? The public saw a grieving widow, but the whispers suggested a more complex narrative. But behind the composed facade, a storm raged. Saki's mind was a whirlwind of memories, regrets, and fears. The stormy sky above seemed to reflect her inner turmoil, a battle between guilt and innocence, love and betrayal. The police investigation was swift and thorough. Detectives combed through every detail, leaving no stone unturned. The forensic team worked tirelessly, piecing together the puzzle of Kosuke's untimely death. The pressure was immense, the stakes high. The autopsy revealed traces of aconite in Nazaki's system, a rare and deadly poison derived from a flower known as monkshood. This revelation turned the case on its head. Aconite, often referred to as the queen of poisons, was not something one came across by accident. It was a deliberate choice, pointing to a premeditated act. The evidence pointed to Saki. Her calm demeanor, once seen as a sign of strength, now seemed suspicious. The police confronted her, their questions sharp and probing. Each answer she gave was scrutinized, every gesture analyzed. Aconite was found in her studio, remnants of a pigment she used in her paintings. The discovery was damning. How could she explain the presence of such a deadly substance in her personal space? The once vibrant and creative studio now felt like a chamber of secrets, each corner hiding a piece of the dark puzzle. She was arrested, charged with murder, the once envied Mrs. Kosuke Nazaki, now a suspected Black Widow. The transformation was shocking. From a respected artist and beloved wife to a figure of scandal and suspicion, Saki's world had turned upside down. As she was led away, she looked back at the sprawling Nazaki estate, a single tear rolling down her cheek. The mansion, once a symbol of love and success, now stood as a silent witness to the tragedy that had unfolded. The tear, glistening in the dim light, spoke volumes. It was a tear of grief, or perhaps a tear of triumph. The true nature of that tear remained a mystery, much like the events that had led to this moment. Was it sorrow for a lost love, or a silent victory over a life of hidden torment? The answers lay buried, much like the secrets of the Nazaki household.